Captain Michael Tors had been serving as military liaison to the Valith royal court for 8 months, and he developed a very deliberate pattern. Whenever Princess Sarathia entered a room, he found a reason to leave. It wasn't subtle. The princess had noticed. Her distinctive pointed ears tracked sound with predatory precision, and she'd caught him mid-exit more than once. The court had noticed too, whispering about the human liaison who seemed to hold a grudge against the crown princess. Michael's commander had started receiving complaints about potential diplomatic incidents. But Michael maintained his distance anyway, because the alternative was more dangerous than anyone realized. The Valith were an ancient species whose empire spanned dozens of systems. Elegant and powerful, with pointed ears that could detect heartbeats from across a room and skin that shifted through luminous colors reflecting emotional states. That combination made them exceptionally good at reading others. Princess Sarathia was particularly skilled at this, her royal training making her expert at interpreting the biological responses of anyone in her presence, which was exactly Michael's problem. Every time he was near Sarathia, his heart rate spiked. His breathing changed. His pupils dilated. Every biological response screamed what he absolutely could not afford to reveal, that he was developing feelings for her that went far beyond professional respect. He'd tried meditation, biofeedback techniques, anything that might help him maintain neutral physiology around her. Nothing worked. So he'd made the only logical choice. He stayed away. It was working mostly. He maintained excellent relationships with the emperor, the other royal children, the court advisors. His work was exemplary. He just did all of it while carefully avoiding the crown princess. Tonight was another diplomatic reception. Michael was discussing agricultural trade agreements with Duke Kesvel when he felt it, that shift in the room's energy that meant Sarathia had entered. He didn't look. He'd learned not to look. Instead, he politely excused himself and started edging toward the exit. He almost made it. Captain Tors. Sarathia's voice stopped him 3 meters from the door. "A moment of your time, please." Michael turned to find the princess directly in his path. Her skin cycled through colors indicating determination mixed with frustration. "Your Highness, how can I be of service?" "You can start by explaining why you flee every room I enter." Sarathia had maneuvered them into a private alcove. Michael's heart was racing, not just from proximity, but from being trapped in a conversation he'd spent 8 months avoiding. "I don't flee, Your Highness," he said, knowing it was a weak deflection. "You absolutely flee." Her skin flashed with colors that looked like hurt beneath the determination. "You serve as liaison to this court, yet you avoid me specifically. My siblings receive your full attention. My father's advisors have your respect, but I receive only your back." Michael's mind raced through possible explanations. None would work. Sarath could probably hear his elevated pulse, detect his breathing changes. Lying to someone who could read biological responses was pointless. "If my father's court has somehow offended you," Sarath continued, "diplomatic protocol requires you address this directly. What have I done to earn such pointed avoidance?" He chose truth. "Because your people can read biological responses," Michael said quietly, "and I can't control mine around you. Staying away is the only way to maintain professional distance." Sarath's skin cycled through colors so rapidly Michael couldn't track them. Surprise, confusion, realization, and something that might have been hope. "You're saying you avoid me because you have personal reactions you don't want me to detect. My physiological responses around you would be inappropriate for our respective positions to reveal," Michael said, trying to maintain some dignity. Distance was the only way to preserve diplomatic propriety. "So you've been protecting diplomatic relations by staying away from me," Sarath said slowly, her skin shifting to soft golds and silvers. "Not because you find me distasteful, but because you find me too appealing," Michael finished. "You're brilliant, charismatic, and genuinely dedicated to your people's welfare. But I'm human, you're Valith royalty, and the political implications of a military liaison developing feelings for a crown princess are catastrophic. So I stayed away." Sarath was quiet, her skin cycling through thoughtful colors. "You've been sacrificing your professional effectiveness to protect me from potential scandal. Most would either pursue regardless of consequence or feel resentment at the restriction." "The restriction isn't your fault," Michael said, "and pursuing would be spectacularly selfish. You're going to rule an empire someday." The last thing you need is complications from some human's inconvenient feelings. Sarath's ears tilted forward with determination. And if I said those feelings weren't one-sided? That I've noticed your absence precisely because I've been looking for your presence. Michael's heart stopped, then started racing faster. Your Highness. Sarath, she interrupted. If we're being honest about complicated feelings, we can at least use first names. You've been watching for me? Michael asked. Constantly, Sarath admitted, her skin warm gold with relief. I noticed your pattern within weeks. At first I thought you disliked me. Some humans struggle with female authority, or perhaps found Valith royalty distasteful. Never, Michael said emphatically. I know that now because I watched you work. How you navigate my father's court with respect rather than fear. How you advocate for your people without demanding dominance. Her skin shifted to vulnerable blues. Watching you leave every room I entered was frustrating because I wanted the opposite. Wanted you to stay, to talk with me the way you talk with others. Michael's training screamed that this was still a terrible idea, but he'd already committed to honesty. I don't know how to make this work, he admitted. The diplomatic complications alone are real, Sarath agreed, but so is living authentically. You've been sacrificing your comfort to protect me from scandal. But you never asked if I wanted that protection, or if I might be willing to face complications for something genuine. It's not just about you, Michael said. It's about the alliance between our peoples, the trade agreements, the political machinery that depends on proper protocol. My feelings aren't worth risking that. Perhaps not alone, Sarath said, but what if both our feelings together might strengthen that alliance rather than threaten it? The Valith Empire and humanity need genuine partnership, not just careful diplomacy. Genuine partnership requires authenticity. Michael had spent 8 months convinced that distance was the responsible choice. But looking at Sarath's hopeful expression, he realized he'd been making decisions for her, protecting her from choices she might want to make herself. What are you proposing? He asked. That we stop letting distance make decisions for us, that we explore whatever this is honestly, even if it's complicated. Michael thought about the 8 months of careful avoidance, the exhaustion of constant vigilance. Then he thought about the alternative. It won't be easy, he warned. Your court will have opinions, my superiors will have concerns. I'm crown princess of an interstellar empire, Sarath said with a smile that made his heart race faster. I've lived under scrutiny my entire life. At least this time, it would be for something I chose. Okay, we try. No grand declarations, no rushing, just actually staying in rooms when you enter, having conversations. Seeing what happens. Sarath's skin blazed with golden light. I can work with that. They started carefully. Michael staying at receptions when Sarath arrived, engaging in conversations beyond diplomatic necessity, discovering layers to each other that distance had prevented. The court noticed immediately. Conservative advisors were scandalized. Progressive factions celebrated it as unprecedented bridge building. The Valith Emperor watched them during court functions with contemplative colors cycling across his skin, but never interfered. Michael's superiors were less neutral. Multiple messages arrived about professional boundaries and proper protocol. He acknowledged each one and kept showing up, because they were discovering something worth the complications. Sarath was as brilliant as he'd observed from distance, but also funny in dry ways that caught him off guard, passionate about agricultural reform in ways that aligned with his values, surprisingly uncertain about her readiness for eventual rule. I've been trained for this my entire life, she admitted one evening in the palace gardens. But training isn't the same as being ready. Sometimes I wonder if I'll be good enough. You will be, Michael said with certainty, because you care about being good enough. That self-awareness will serve you better than any training. You see me clearly, Sarath said. Most people see the crown princess, the role, the position. You see Sarath. You see me too, not just the human liaison. You notice when I'm uncomfortable with formal protocols but hiding it, or worried about negotiations but maintaining composure. Of course, Sarath said, I pay attention to things that matter. 6 months after their confrontation, the Valith Emperor summoned Michael to a private audience. Michael prepared for the conversation he'd been expecting, the one where he'd be told his relationship with the crown princess needed to end. Instead, the emperor said, You've been good for her. I see her more at ease, more herself than she's been since childhood. The role of crown princess is lonely. She deserves someone who sees past it to the person underneath. His skin shifted to approving gold. Provided you continue treating her with the respect you've shown, you have my support. Later, when diplomats and journalists asked about their relationship, no longer hidden, openly acknowledged, Michael gave his straightforward answer. She asked why I stayed away. I told her the truth. She chose to step closer anyway. Sarath, her skin warm gold, added, he thought distance was respect. I taught him that true respect is allowing someone the agency to choose closeness even when it's complicated. Sometimes the most loyal thing you can do